I remember one of the guys, he had walked up to me, and he had a gun, and he said, here, man, take this gun. We need you to get on security. And I remember grabbing the gun, and I didn't even know what to do with the gun. I never held a real gun. I had a cap gun before. I never held a real gun. But I did what I saw on television. I did what I had always seen on the screen. So I put it in my waistband. And I remember walking across the street, standing where he told me to stand. And on the surface of me, like I was being tough, like I was going above and beyond to prove that I was worthy of my gang. But deep down, I was scared inside. So I kept thinking, what if I shoot my, that's gonna hurt, So, but that must have been some type of premonition, because soon after that happened, within days, one of my best friends and I, as well as two other kids, were hanging out in the back of an alley, and we had access to one of the guns that was provided by the gang. And I remember him grabbing it, and we were playing with it. It was in a moment I heard, boom! And suddenly, within that moment, everything went in. It warped in and back out of slow motion and darkness, and I realized that I had been shot in my face beneath my left eye. And when the bullet entered my face, it shattered the bone. It sent fragments in every direction. It traveled through my sinus. It lodged behind my left ear. I had blood rushing out of my mouth, out of my nose, down the back of my throat. And I remember thinking to myself, swallow the blood. I thought that if I swallowed the blood, it would stop me from bleeding to death. And I look back upon my life and I question myself, why? Why did I put myself in those situations? And I remember being in the back of the ambulance looking up, and they had the bright light in my face, very much like this light. And they were saying, put this, they're like, follow my finger. Where did the bullet come out? Where did it go in? Asking my name, what year it was. And I remember the police walking over and standing above me and saying, who shot you? And then within that moment, I had to decide, do I tell on my friend who just shot me in my face by accident? It was an accident. And all my life I had been raised not to tell on my friends. And even there, while I was laying on what could have been my deathbed, I couldn't bring myself to do that. And I said it was a man in a black car. I was probably thinking about the Knight Rider or something. I don't know what I was thinking. But I said it was a man in a black car. So they went through the whole neighborhood. They were chasing every car, pulling him over, every black car. They were questioning him. Where were you at? What were you doing at this time of the hour? And then they realized, like, wait a minute. Perhaps they put two and two together, because the Knight Rider never carried a gun, So they probably say, wait, this story's not matching up. So they asked one of my friends that was there, and he told the truth. He didn't have a script. He didn't know what I told him, so he told the truth. And so they came to the hospital, and they looked at me, and they said, we'll talk to you soon. I knew for a fact that something was going to happen. I didn't know quite what it was, but I knew I was probably going to be in some trouble. So about a week and a half later, while I'm walking through my neighborhood, and I still have locked jaw, I'm still contending with a severely bruised face, a bloodshot eye, still temporarily bringing back my hearing. And they pulled up and said, Xavier, come here, let me talk to you. When they pulled up, they said, hop in the back seat of the car, Xavier. So I hopped in the back seat of the car, and all I remember him saying is, you're going to get locked up. I was like, for what? He said, for obstruction of justice. And I didn't even know what that meant. Apparently, I had broken law of obstruction of justice. And so reflecting back upon that experience, and now as an adult, I think about victims. I think about those who have been harmed. Today we put guns inside of a lockbox and we place them on shelves. We protect children because we know what can happen to a child if they get a hold of a gun. But because me, as an 11-year-old kid with prior offenses, because I was no longer viewed as a child or a regular child, because I was viewed as a bad child, I didn't get no trauma therapy. I didn't get no follow-up services. I didn't get a home visit. I got a week and a half detention stay in an audio home. And that was the first time I'd ever been locked up. I was probably the first person in the history of the audio home to get locked up for his own shooting, But I was in there, and I did that week and a half. And by the time I stood in front of a judge, I had to get my friend out of his attempted murder charges. I had to tell him what happened. But surprisingly enough, the only follow-up service I had, even beyond that, was a probation period. And I kept getting in trouble over and over again. And I asked myself, why? Why wasn't a gun? Why wasn't a bullet to my face where I almost died? Why was that not enough to wake me up? If there was ever anything in life that can perhaps wake someone up, it would be coming close to death. But that was not enough to wake me up. And now, looking back, it's funny, I look at myself today as an adult, as a responsible, caring adult, and I'm afraid to get a parking ticket. You know what I mean? I don't want to get in trouble. But in reality, by the time I was 13 years old, I had 19 arrests and 7 convictions. Everything from armed robbery to assault and battery, weapons possessions, all these things that I did as a child. I look back now as an adult, and I can't even imagine a child doing these things.
Please don't let me be misunderstood.